Hi, this is Dr. Toby, your host on Health and Wellness. Thank you for joining us. We're going to have a great time with Dr. Monda Monga. Dr. Monga is a graduate of the Tugulu College. She has a bachelor's in business administration, got a master's in public health from the Jackson State University, and then a PhD in leadership development in education, also from Jackson State University. She's a former chief operating officer of the Brothers Keeper organization that spearheaded since 1999 the caretaking of positive HIV individuals in the state of Mississippi. She's now working at the University of Mississippi Medical Center as the assistant professor in population health. And she's been a recipient of several grants numbering more than $7 million. She's going to talk about her faith, her future, and her fortune, how God has brought her from a blue-collar background where her parents were less than educated to the point where she and her sister are now multiple degree holders. You do not want to miss her story. Don't forget, Jesus is Lord. God bless you. Hi, this is Dr. Toby, your host on Health and Wellness. Thank you for joining us. We have a splendid program with Dr. Monda Monga. She's a PhD holder. She's a public health advocate. She's currently an assistant professor at the School of Population Health at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. Apart from that, she has her undergrad in business administration from Tugulu College and her master's in public health from Jackson State University. She was once the chief operating officer of but Brothers Keeper, and today she's at the forefront of helping end the HIV epidemic, working with several groups on grants and working with communities to help them get educated on HIV and other health disparities in the community. So we are so delighted to have Dr. Monga with us on the show. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much
Really
for having me.
honored. I met her a few years ago, and I was struck with her passion and her focus. She was not one to be easily distracted. She knew what she wanted, and she never stopped till she got it. So that is probably a big reason why she's where she is today. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Drive, passion. I live by the mantra, to whom much is given, much is required.
Okay.
Hmm.
So you grew up in, I would say, inner city Jackson.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I tell people my story. I'm an inner city kid. Um, Grew up in a part of Jackson that's now known as Midtown. So it's kind of got a hip, funky name now. But when I grew up there, it was called the North End. One of the poor areas in Jackson. My home was what you would call a shotgun house. You walk in the
Wow.
front door and you can walk straight through and walk right out the back door. And so that was the home I grew up in. But but no lack of being surrounded around love, but just the home and place we lived in. Yeah.
And your dad worked on trucks and tires.
Yeah. So my dad was a tire man. Is what the I guess now it would probably have a fancy name, a tire engineer. But in short, if you see the big 18 wheelers out on the roads, it was my dad who would go out and fix those tires whenever those 18 wheelers had a flat, or if they had a wobble in a tire or some issue like that. So that was what he did, along with cutting grass or lawn service. Before it was a profession, it was what the other piece that he did to make ends meet for his family.
Oh.
Hmm.
So how did he do financially? He did okay.
Um,
Kept you in school. Kept food on the table.
Absolutely kept food on the table. My dad has always been a hustler, like just not in the negative sense, but a hustler in the sense that he was never going to let his family go without. It didn't make a difference of what he had to do. I can remember when I was a little girl, my mom actually worked about 30 minutes from us, and we only had one vehicle at that time. And so my dad worked about 2 miles from our home.
Walk.
Yes,
Okay.
he would pick my sister up on one arm. He would pick me up on the other arm. He would walk us to our sitter, and then he would walk to work. And he did that for about a year, probably, because we only had one vehicle. And so literally, I witnessed this man get up every morning and walk 2 miles to work, drop his girls off half the way, and literally he would tote us to our sitter.
Well, you had a school bus and all that.
Yeah, but during that time where we lived at, we didn't live far enough from the school
Oh.
to take the school bus,
Oh, wow.
and so
You had to walk.
we had to walk. Yeah,
Right,
hmm
right.
yeah, yeah.
Nobody thinks of that today.
Nobody thinks about that. Right, right. It may seem far to
Right.
you walking, but it's not far enough for the school to say, yeah, you can get picked
Yeah,
up by the
school
bus.
right. And where did your mom work? I know she did.
So my mom is, first of all, she's a fantastic cook. And so my mom actually opened the McDonald's in Clinton. So if
Oh,
you're ever in
wow.
Clinton, Mississippi, and there's a McDonald's, my mom worked at McDonald's. She then went on to do food service. The hospital I now work at, my mom once worked in food
Oh,
service
wow.
in that hospital. So she did a lot of food service related work. As my sister and I started to grow, my father really wanted us to have the privilege of an at-home mom. And so there were many times that my mom would take a break from working so she could focus on being a mother, and my father took the brunt of bringing the money home on his own
Was
back.
he self-employed or was he employed by someone?
Both,
Oh, okay.
both. He was employed by someone doing the tires, but his yard work was solely
His
just
own.
his own, just going out and just so neither one of my parents are what you would call educated people, right? Neither one of them, graduated high school. I think my father made it as far as like the 7th or 8th grade, and my mom made it right to the end, like 11th or 12th grade. And so I oftentimes say that my father is probably one of the most intelligent people I know to have never had a formal education.
Right.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And obviously it shows because he pushed you and your sister to get an education.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you're older or she's older?
I am the oldest.
Okay.
Yes,
So
I am
tell
the
us
oldest.
so she went to college, I presume.
Yes.
I'm
Mhm,
sure
mhm.
nobody would not, they wouldn't let any of you go without going to college, right?
You know, school was so important. My mom and my dad. For my mom, she taught us everything. So I was the kid that by the time I was 3, I could read,
Oh,
I could write, I knew like all the ABCs. So my mom gave me everything she had, and it was always very clear we were going to college. Like it was that we didn't know how, but we always knew we were going to college. And so the decision even to go to Tougaloo, really, I'll be honest, that was what my father thought the world of Tougaloo College.
oh, wow.
Congressman Benny Thompson is from the same town that my father's from,
Bolton.
and Bolton.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And so my dad only had heard that the congressman went to this school, Tougaloo College, and so if my baby can go to that school,
Okay.
and that was the reason why.
Opportunities.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
So what high school did you go to after?
I went to Lanier. I
Oh,
went
the
to
Lanier,
Lanier High
okay.
School, and historically, Lanier at one point was the only African American school in Jackson, and it had such a rich history of just about who the city is and the heritage of the
Right.
city, and so and even now the school has a very 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 strong alumni. So I am a 833 kid is what we call it in
Okay.
Jackson.
We
Yes.
know them more. I know them for their football and I think basketball, but
Yeah, so at one point we had a dominating basketball team in the
mhm.
state of Mississippi.
Wow.
Yes.
So from Lanier to Tougaloo,
From Lanier to
did you get
Tougaloo.
scholarships? I know Tougaloo is a private school,
Yes,
so
I did get scholarships. I got scholarships, but at the time when I was applying for school, it was so competitive. I graduated in the top 10 of my class, my high school class, but it was so competitive. Um, I did get scholarships, but it didn't pay for
everything.
no, it didn't pay for the full ride. And so I became a proponent of what President Biden has been working so hard.
Oh, student
Student
loans.
loans, yeah, yeah. And so, fortunately, I was one of those that's been fortunate. I worked in public service, so quite a bit of my student loan debt
Has been
just got
paid.
wiped out.
Awesome.
hmm
And where did your sister go to?
So my sister did. She took a little bit of a different route. So
Okay.
I was a HBCU. She opted to, which I think was extremely smart. My sister did 2 years at a community college, and then she finished her 2 years at a 4-year college. So she went to Hines Community College, and then on to Belhaven.
Oh
And
wow.
so I oftentimes say she took the route that didn't cost her as much. So
And what did she study?
so education.
So she did education
She
too.
did an
Oh,
education
okay.
also. Yes, my sister is. She thought initially she wanted to be a nurse, and then she
Mhm.
decided no, not so much. But education. So education administration.
Oh
She has
wow.
a master's in education
Okay.
administration.
Wow. I
Yep.
mean, for your parents not to have any degrees and then both of you have higher degrees, that's pretty astounding.
Yeah, yeah. We
Yeah.
one year for a gift, we actually gifted them our degrees
Oh wow.
because though we earned them, they certainly deserve to.
Motivated.
Yeah, they motivated us, pushed us, always let us know that we had the ability to do it, that we could do it. You can do it, right? So
Amazing. That's awesome. And I mean, today your sister is living in Virginia. Her
yeah,
husband is in the Navy or Army, and
Army.
I know her son is going to graduate from high school.
Yeah, yeah,
So you
yeah.
guys are leaving a legacy, and he knows he has to
Absolutely.
go to college.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and that for us, for both my sister and I, as well as my parents, is that we have now changed the trajectory of our lineage, and so my nephew is looking at 3 schools right now, and my sister is allowing him the space to kind of make a decision on which school he wants to go to. I was actually talking to he turned 18 recently, and when he turned 18, I told him how proud I was of him because I remember not having the resources that he has now, and that he is being so smart and so responsible with those resources. So it's very exciting to know, but not just in our immediate family. So my sister and I are the oldest of the cousins also.
Okay.
And so I have a cousin who's now working on his
Oh
PhD.
wow.
I have another cousin who's just recently graduated college. And so it's not just in our immediate family. When you have these opportunities, it becomes a fan
Oh
out.
wow.
Yeah.
So there are people out there who say it's too expensive, it's too long.
hmm
You've spent 7, maybe 8 years pursuing a master's and
Yeah.
undergrad and PhD.
Yeah.
Some people think it's not worth the time and the money.
Mhm.
So what would you say to those individuals out there who want to take the quickest route to the prosperous life?
Here's the thing. Um, Find the thing that you absolutely love. And I'll be honest, school is not for everyone. And yes, this is a PhD talking. It's not for everyone. If you're not clear on why you're taking the route of higher education, then consider there is a great opportunity for prosperity in the trades because so few people are now in the trades, plumbing, electrical work, HVAC. But find the thing that you love and that you're good at. The truth of the matter is for me, when I go to my office every day or when I'm working in my nonprofit, I could do that even if I didn't get paid.
Get paid, right.
I could do it even if I didn't get paid. I absolutely love the work I do. And so My advice really is if you find the thing you love, the money will come. The money
right.
will actually chase you down. Yeah,
So
the opportunities will.
don't look at just how, just do what you love and it will fit
Find the
eventually.
thing. Find the thing. And the biggest thing that I heard someone say this the other day. Um, it was not until my late 20s that I found my Godfidence, right? And not just confidence, but the fact that I was going to trust the path that God was putting me on. And I would trust that path to the point that I would surrender it to Him and say, God, whatever way you want me to go, that's the way I'm going to go. And with that thing, when I tell you the blessings began to just, the opportunities.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. So tell us a bit about, because a lot of us are not aware of population health. We don't know
Yes.
what it means.
Yes.
Obviously, maybe there's some health disparities.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, God confident pushed you down that
Yes.
path.
Yes. Yes.
So you met Dr. Dobbs years ago, and
I met Dr. Thomas Dobbs years ago, so I would be remiss if I didn't mention meeting in 2005. I met who would become my mentor, and I would like to say was the catalyst to changing my life. In 2005, I met Dr. Leandro Mina, who is now a world-renowned HIV expert. And I met him, and he told me, he said, I see something in you, and if you're willing, and I said, absolutely, I'm willing. What do I need to do? And he put me in spaces and put me in rooms, and this is where I met Dr. Dobbs. But what it instilled in me was a couple of things: the importance of mentorship and the importance of taking the opportunity. Oftentimes, we wonder, what will happen if. Take the opportunity.
take the opportunity.
And I took the opportunity to come in and work for him, and that put me on this trajectory of understanding public health and population health. Public health is really about the system, right? The system of disease, the system of health issues. But population health is about the people. It is about the things that happen that lead to the disease in the first place. What we call the social determinants of health. Where you went to school, the quality of your health care, the quality of your education. What does your neighborhood look like? What did your family look like? What about your genetics? Those social determinants that people live and deal with, that is what centers around population health.
Oh wow! And that's where you carved your niche now. That's
Absolutely,
what
absolutely,
because
absolutely.
you've just gotten, I think they said, $7 million grants or something. So
So coming
nobody gets
into
those kind of grants without carving their niche.
so coming into UMC, I walked in with almost $3 million in grants is coming into the door when I came back in May, and that has just been what has happened is people see that I'm now back in academia, and the phone never stops ringing. Hey, we wanted to do this. I had to figure out who my population was, because population health can be any group of people, and so my population is Black women. It is minorities in general, whether they're sexual, gender, racial minorities. It is young people. Those are the three populations I'm the most focused on. I truly believe that when you take into consideration, particularly women and youth, aka young women, women, in my mindset, they are. If you want to make generational change, if you can start with women, you can make generational change. They are the mothers. They are the wives. They are the ones getting the husbands to the doctor. They're the ones getting the kids to the doctor.
Present.
They are the ones. Correct.
Wow.
Yep.
So that's your passion.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about this Godfidence a little bit. So
Yes.
where has God been in your life? I mean, in your home? Did you grow up in church? Did you raise a? What are your memories in Mississippi of religion and church and Christianity in general?
Church for me began at probably 5 years old.
Okay.
My great grandmother, my mother's grandmother,
Wow.
was our sitter. And on Sundays, she would tell my parents, I want to take them to church. And so even if we had to walk.
This woman must have been like 80.
Yeah, so my great grandmother lived to be 103 years old.
Oh my goodness.
and she just passed away October 2019.
Wow.
Yeah, so she was 103 years old, and even the day she closed her eyes, she literally did just that. She just closed her eyes and went to sleep. That was
Wow.
it. She was still in good health. She was still, fair health for 103 years old, but still able to get around in her sound mind. And so at that point, yeah, she was at least.
So she left you an example of going to church,
Oh,
reading your
absolutely.
Bible.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. She was the. I tell people all the time, my speaking skills were honed because of my great grandmother. Because she was the very first person to put me up and say, "Oh, my granddaughter can talk. Put her up there."
Wow.
And so it was the foundation she laid. I found Christ as an individual uh, in around my late 20s. Late 20s is when I surrendered for myself, and I
Wow.
started to understand that my relationship with Christ needed to be vertical.
Right.
I needed to be able to talk to God and know how to talk to God and know how to pray, um, and not horizontal. So though I have a strong relationship to the church, I don't require that relationship
Right.
for me to get my prayer through. Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
And she showed you, was she able to read? In those days, people
She
didn't really read. Was she
right.
able to read the Bible?
Not as much.
Oh, okay.
No, not as much.
So
But
how
it
did she
was
just used to go to church, listen
she
to
would just
sermons?
she would take us to church. She
Oh,
would listen
wow.
to sermons. We would listen to gospel
Oh,
music, and
wow.
and
And
so
we take
yeah,
that for granted. Can you imagine how many people in those days couldn't read the Bible?
absolutely,
And today we just take it for granted.
absolutely, absolutely. They lived by the mantra that faith is the substance of things hoped for
Oh,
and
wow.
the evidence of things not
I
seen.
see.
Right, because they were really operating off faith. They weren't operating off what they had read. They were operating off faith and trusting that
Did she
God would
tell
take
you
care of them.
stories of the days of segregation?
Oh,
Were they
absolutely,
under, were
absolutely.
they free? Were they, all the little stories?
So my grandmother grew up in a rural area. Great grandmother, she grew up in a rural area, and she talked a lot about how, as a black woman, that if a white person walked across the street or walked towards you, you had to step off the curb and step into the street or go to the other side and hold your head down and all of those things. I mean, my dad tells stories of that, and so for me to think that was their reality, but they still kept their faith.
They still
They
kept their
still
faith,
trusted that God would take care of them, that God would see them through. And sometimes the prayers are not, you don't see the outcome of the seeds that you're
right?
reaping.
Right.
Sometimes you don't see it,
Mhm.
but your children do.
Mhm.
And I would like to believe that my sister and I are the
Are the
answered
answers.
prayers. We were the answered
I'm
prayers.
really impressed that you guys don't have as, maybe you do, but I don't see the sibling rivalry like I see in. They said girls have a lot of
Oh,
rivalry.
absolutely not.
But you guys don't have that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. My sister is my absolute best friend.
No, well,
My
it
s-
doesn't mean you're not friends, but there's a lot of
no, no,
competition.
no,
Who loves more? Who loves? Who
no,
gets more?
no.
Who?
My mom, because she wanted to make sure that my sister and I would always be as close as possible. When we were young, if we would argue, if we would fight, if we would have a disagreement, my mother would put us in the corner and make us hug each other and tell each other that we loved each other.
Oh wow.
That was our punishment. And we could not move out of that space until she heard sincerity. So I couldn't just be like, I love you, I love you. It would, you would stand there until you told your sister that you loved her, and then my
Wow.
mom believed it. And I firmly believe that is the reason my sister and I are where we are now. And so there is no rivalry. There is no um,
And your
we
parents loved you equally to the
now
best
my
of their
sister and I will
ability.
now let me tell you, we will say I think that my sister is my daddy's favorite. I think I'm my mother's favorite. Um, and it's not favored in the sense of they do more for because they've always been equal in that. But my personality probably is a little more like my mom's, and my sister's personality is probably a little more like my dad's. And so, um, yeah. So I was the trouble kid.
Oh
Eh,
really?
oh yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
fighting.
No, no, no,
Okay.
no, 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 not that. My sister was the fighter. No, not that.
Okay.
But I was the kid. I was a free spirit,
Okay.
and my parents, they were so protective that me being the free spirit for them was tough. And so I would if you had to consider us, neither one of us did anything that was just, but I was the free spirit. So I was the one that wanted to go and let me see and what's going to happen. And my sister is much more conservative. You just,
What do you think has been responsible for their marriage for 40 something years?
that 51 years.
51
Yeah.
years.
Mhm.
What do you think has been
They both made a decision when they got married that they were in it.
real?
They made a decision.
That's rare in 21st century.
It is absolutely rare. I have had the privilege of seeing two people who who are actually friends. Like my parents, they love each other as husband and wife, but they actually enjoy each other's
Okay.
company. Yeah, so they have fun. They are each other's best friend.
Okay.
Yeah, me and my sister oftentimes wonder. I don't know if you ever seen the movie Love Note. Is it Love Notes or Love Letter or something? Whatever the movie is, but the people have been married a very long time, and when one of them passed away, the other passed away soon thereafter. And it's often been our concern that because they are as close as they are, that if
Right.
something happened to one, would it impact the other to the
I
point?
guess they started so early. They
They
literally
did.
grew up
They did. Yeah,
together.
my dad was 19 and my mom was 17.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So you give a shout out to Dr. Dobbs and Dr. Mina.
Mhm.
Any spiritual mentors? I mean, do you have people who maybe in college or who in church has inspired you? I know you have a vertical relationship, but maybe there are one or two people you think can have helped you in life spiritually.
I think if I can talk about who's helped me in life spiritually, I would say three people. One, of course, would be my great grandmother.
Right.
That was one. The second one would be Pastor Al Williams, who has passed away. But he was the first pastor that sat down and gave it to me like, like this is what it is.
That was your
And
dad's church? Or?
no, it was actually I found this church, and,
Oh.
and my parents ended up coming to church with me. But he was the first pastor that actually sat down and helped me to decipher the Bible in a way for myself. He explained to me that you need to read and understand it for yourself. Um, Al Williams, and then I would then go on to say the third person is probably her name is Funemi Queen Franklin. She's a friend of mine, and she's a spiritualist. But what she's allowed me to do is to hone into when God is speaking to me.
That free spirit you talked about.
Yes.
We're going to come back
Yes.
and continue. Dr. Monga is going to share with us so many things about her journey through population health, her journey through spirituality. She's just started. She can talk till the cows come home, trust me. So we're so excited to have her on the show. But we are looking forward to continuing this talk with her. Don't forget, write to us, P.O. Box 550 71294. We want to hear from you. We want to know how the program has blessed you. We want to see how we can partner together. Jesus is Lord. God bless you.